Hello, everyone. My name is Katy of the Greenland Quilter, and today I have a special guest, and I'm going to introduce her in just a second. But I wanted to let you know that we will be doing something later where we're sewing together as well, so you have that to look forward to. But let's get to know my newest guest. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen and I am from Crafty Quilting Designs, and I make lots of quilts, bags and anything sort of quilty and sewy, and I enjoy doing it 100%. I am married and I have 3 children who are very old, even though I don't look it. I look very young. Most people think, oh no, she's too young. But I have 3 children, 1 girl, 2 boys, and they don't live with me. I am in Australia at the moment. I used to live in the United Kingdom. My husband and I my husband is Australian and he wanted to move back to move back to Australia. And I didn't want to. I was like, no, I don't want to leave my children, but I decided to. I think what made me move was the loss of my sister. And I decided, well, life is too short. Let me go and explore. And that is literally how I ended up living in Australia. I absolutely love it. It's a really fun place to be, and the people are welcoming, and still getting used to the spiders. I don't think I'll ever get used to that. They're big and scary, and yeah, so that's another drama with me because there is so much screaming that goes on when I see them. The birds are beautiful. They're always singing. At the moment, we are living in country Australia. When I arrived here, we traveled around Australia, and he wanted me to get that Australian experience and learn about the country. And that was a very good idea because it really opened up my eyes to how huge Australia is. And I don't think people sort of grasp how big this country actually is, but it's a beautiful place. And so once we settled down, I actually did some quilting and sewing while we were traveling, and that was fun because I then got to, see all the Aboriginals and meet their culture and see their artwork and see their fabric, which was really, really beautiful and mind blowing. But now we're back in Melbourne and we now live in country Australia.
That's outstanding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some questions, and then there'll be a set of questions, and then there'll be a set of questions that's going to make you think on your feet, kind of. So it's going to be fun. So okay. Yeah. So who influenced you to learn how to sew?
My mom. My mom, I remember when I was growing up, she used to make a lot of our clothes for us. And I remember she always used to make shorts for us, which I love because I love wearing shorts. I was very much of a tomboy when I was a little girl. And so I remember my mom sewing. She used to make a lot of curtains and tablecloths and stuff like that. And I remember my first sewing project was my little sister's uniform. I remember my mom was a nurse and she'd moved to America to continue her nursing. And my sister needed a school uniform because she was going from primary school to secondary school. And I thought, okay, I didn't have any sewing experience. In fact, tell a lie, I had a 1-day sewing summer camp thingy I went to. And I was like, so, enthused. Yeah, I can sew now. I'm going to make this. So I went and bought all the materials. Now, mind you, I could have just gone and buy the uniform. But I was like, no, I want to make it. So my mom was in America. The sewing machine was there and all her fabrics was there and everything was there. I was like, okay, right. So I went and I bought the uniform material and I made her uniform. It wasn't the best, but I was so proud of it. So that was my first sewing experience. So I learned to sew from my mom.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think it's interesting that you started out by making clothes. That's how I started out sewing, was learning how to make my own clothes.
Yeah, cool. Definitely.
When did you begin to piece quilts, and how long have you been doing
it? Okay, I started because I was a textiles teacher also in the UK, and I think it was a pandemic that brought about the quilting. So I how I started being, because I was always a hospitality teacher in colleges and schools, but I went for a job interview. I wanted to change my job, and I remember having the interview with the headmaster, and he said to me, "Well, I see from your CV or resume that you can sew." I said, "Yeah, I do it just just for fun." And he was like, "Well, I need a sewing teacher." I went, "I have never taught other people to sew." And he's, "Well, like, I cannot give you the job unless you agree to teach sewing." So I took a deep breath and I said, "Okay." I said, "Would I have an assistant to help me?" He said, "Yes, you'll have all the course plans, everything. You just got to teach the kids to sew." And that was my turning point in sewing, literally. I went home from that interview and I researched all the programs that I had to teach the kids. And from there, my skills grew and grew and grew and grew. Then came the pandemic, and I was still teaching sewing online through the computer. How I did that, only God knows. But the kids loved it. And so I remember one evening, it was quiet and I was like bored of sewing ordinary stuff. And I remember seeing Quilting came on YouTube channel, and it was Missouri Star.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Jenny Doan cut up all these small pieces of fabric. I'm thinking, has she gone crazy? Why is she cutting up all these small pieces of fabric to sew it back together again? But when she was finished, I don't know what the quilt was. When she was finished, I was like, "Oh my God, I want to make that. I want to make that." I had no experience of quilting, but I went out, bought some fabric. In fact, no, tell a lie. I went back to school. I got some fabric because I didn't want to go buy it. And I messed it up. I went into school, got some fabric, brought it home, and I was like, right, I am going to try and make something. I didn't follow her pattern. I just cut squares and sewed it together. That was my first quilt.
Do you still have your first quilt?
I still do. I
Can we
still
see it?
do. Yeah, sure. It's nothing special. I promise you, it
No,
really
it's all
isn't.
good. First time. Be proud of that first piece of work.
I'll show it to you. And
Okay.
and the color concept is all wrong, but I went for it anyway. I'll stand up and show it to you. So this is what it looks like.
Oh, look at that.
I
That's
mean, I had no clue what I was actually doing, but that is what it turns out to be. And the back was just completely yellow.
oh
But you know
wow.
what? It is, and I think I use a polyester filling for the quilting, and I use gold thread, and I couldn't quilt. It was my small Singer sewing machine, but I sat there and I sewed it together, and I was like, "Oh my God, I made it! I made it!" I
It
never
looks
forget. I
almost
was so proud
abstract.
of
You know
myself.
that?
Sorry?
It looks almost abstract in nature.
It does. It does. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, "Oh, I'm just going to put some things together and see what happened." But this is my very first quilt.
Well, it's
And the thing is,
beautiful.
it is so soft. And I've never used it. Ever since I've made it, I've just folded up. And every time I look at it, and I feel so proud of myself. So
Yeah,
this is what championed me to become a quilter today.
that's awesome. So, how many years do you think you've been doing it?
I would say so. I think I started a year before the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a year before,
No,
so till up to
2019.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Okay. What are your favorite styles of fabric?
To be honest, I don't think I have a favorite.
Okay.
I am quite happy to use anything. I have the mindset of thinking about people before me who didn't have the privilege of the perfect fabric to use. It was whatever to
Yep.
make the quilt. So I always remind myself of that. So for me, anything goes. As long as it can sew together and it feels soft on the skin, I am easy. But if I had to choose, I would probably say batiks. I do love the feel and the style and the color of batiks.
I am totally in love with the teaks. I
Yeah,
just,
amazing.
I don't think I'll ever get enough of them, you know, and I have this design, I have this thing in my brain. When I'm getting pretty close to having 100 colors. When I hit that 100 color mark, I'm making the quilt top with all 100
Excellent.
colors.
Wow, excellent. That would look beautiful.
Well, I went to QuiltCon for the first time this past February, and when you're looking at all these quilts, you know, some of them are the usual what you see everywhere, but then there was some that used a ton. I think it was one of them was maximalism. So I can't say that word very good, but it just means you have to use up all space.
Yeah.
And there was so many colors in some of them, and I'm like, that person can do that, I can do that and
You
get
can
away
do
with it,
that,
you know.
absolutely.
And
Yeah. Yeah,
you know, a lot of times I think we just have to get outside of the box and see where it
absolutely.
takes you. And I realized when I was looking at all these different quilts, I saw so many things in that show that I was like, how did they do that? Or look how, like, they had a section that was supposed to, I guess it was called the community sew, where they were part of a quilt guild, and the assignment was to use purple, yellow, and teal, and any shade and hue in between all of that. And and I'm weird, I'm sorry, but I
That's all
started
right.
I started at the back of the quilt show, not at the front like most people do. I went to the back. And the whole back was that purple, yellow, and teal. And I was like, I didn't know you could use teal with purple. You know, I'm always mixing colors, but it hadn't occurred to me to put teal with purple. Now I could put turquoise with purple, and we all know that works. Just like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
purple works with yellow and other colors, but it didn't occur to me that depending on the hue and shade of a teal, it could work too. So I was just
Absolutely.
totally enjoying myself back there. I took pictures,
Excellent.
pictures that day of just quilts.
Excellent. Yeah, definitely.
It was
Yeah.
amazing. So I understand about the color thing. Um,
Mhm.
do you have any favorite pattern designers?
Um, no,
Me neither.
no. I don't, to be honest, I'm not into things like that. If
Yeah.
I see a pattern and it's beautiful, it's beautiful.
Hmm.
I don't rank people as best designer. I don't believe in style. I just think that everybody has their own unique style
Yep.
of color, patterns, and it's your individuality that
Hmm.
comes out in a quilt. That's my true belief. So that's why I don't have a favorite. If I see something that's beautiful, I'd be like, that's amazing. Just like I saw with your, piece at the back there. It's amazing. But
Thank
to
you.
have a favorite, no,
Yeah, I
no,
don't
it
have one
doesn't.
either.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you do the same thing I do. I know a lot of quilters do that these days. They'll see something a pattern they like, and they take the pattern and they make it into their own. And when
Absolutely.
like I like to take stars that have the empty space in the middle that you see on so many patterns, and I want to stick
Yeah.
something in the middle of that star. So I start
Absolutely.
sticking things in the middle of that
Yeah.
star because that's the way I wanted. For some reason, I felt like that empty space was a waste.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
And it's
you're
because
right.
I don't know how to free motion quilt yet. I just know how to straight line. So and I realized that these empty spaces are part of what you can do by free motion quilting in it.
Hmm,
And you know,
hmm.
and a lot of designers probably put them that way so someone can express their
Free motion.
talent in you know
Yeah,
while quilting it. But right now I'm not to
yeah,
that point.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, here's a good question. Do you
Okay.
prefer traditional quilting, or do you like the more modern, or do you like doing something in between the two?
Now, so when you say traditional, do you mean hand quilting
No, the
or?
traditional designs are things like sewing triangles and squares,
All right. Okay. Okay.
and
Okay.
the modern
Yeah.
is away from all of that.
Yeah. I think I'm a bit of a mixture, actually, to be honest. There are times when I would want to do something traditional, and
Hmm.
there are times when I want to modernize my quilting, or modernize the pattern or just be free-handed about it.
Yep.
So I'm a bit of a mixture. I have my moments.
Okay. As a quilter, is there anything you have learned that you wish someone had told you in the beginning?
Not to freak out, I guess, about it. I think I had to learn that it's just fabric.
Yep.
That's my attitude.
And
It's
it
just
doesn't
fabric.
bite.
Yeah, exactly. It's just fabric. And if I make a mistake, I have two options: start again or unpick it.
Yep.
It's simple as that.
Or
Yeah.
leave it.
Because I think because I think if you break it down as simplified as that, then I think you allow yourself to learn more and to grow and to self-express a lot more easily. Because those little things like, oh my God, could limit you.
Can you tell me about what you envisioned in the beginning of your quilt creating and how it's changed over time? Or do you think
I
you
think
stayed the same?
No, I think I've definitely grown. When I first started, I probably would have stuck to a pattern if I was following one, and try to make the exact thing. But for now, no. If I see and to be honest, I seldom use a pattern. I just like to be free-handed. So if something comes to my head, I will go for it. I'll be like, I'm gonna cut it and see what happens. That's my attitude.
Yep.
If it messes up, then I will turn it into something else. So from being very careful when I first started to sort of being sort of carefree now in what the result will be. And a lot of people have said to me, "How do you do it? Aren't you afraid of things going wrong?" No, I'm not afraid of it going
You
wrong
spend
at
your
all.
life doing things in fear. I mean, I grew up in fear.
Absolutely.
Fear's
Yeah.
fear's an ugly thing. It could ruin everything that you're trying to accomplish just because you let it take control of you. But if you take control of that fear and you just go because you want to go, it works out. It always works out.
Yeah, you beat it, you win.
Yep, exactly. It's always a win when you accomplish
Hmm.
anything that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, what do you like best about making a quilt, and what do you love the most? I mean, so here's an example. Do you love piecing, quilting, binding, sewing on borders? What's your jam?
My jam is I like making the patterns because I like the piecing, but I don't like tiny piecing. That my patience my patience runs out with that. It really does. Um I don't like the binding too much. I'm not a big fuss about it, but to me it's like it's like the last end and I
Mhm.
still have to do it,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So, but I like seeing, my favorite part is seeing the transformation when I put the blocks together. Sometimes it surprises me and sometimes it's expected, So that middle period when you lay all the blocks out and
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. That's when I was like, it kind of lights up for me. And then the end result is like, yes, I'm done.
Yep. Okay, so having asked that question, can you tell me what favorite type of quilt you like to make?
I like to make big cuddly quilts. I really do. I think if I make a small quilt is to like get an idea together very quickly, but I like big cuddly quilts with big quilting on it. I think that's my favorite to me. I like a quilt that I can get started and done quickly because
That's
I
awesome.
want to see the end result.
Yep.
I'm impatient in that sense. I want to see it started. I was like, okay, let's get this done now. So
Mhm.
that's my sort of sweet spot when it comes to it.
Okay, cool. All right. What is the hardest thing about creating a quilt from your perspective?
The hardest thing.
Some people have a hard time making a sandwich. I know I do. What do you
Do
find the toughest to accomplish?
you know what? I've never really experienced anything so difficult. I think,
Oh, cool.
yeah,
And I
I
have
think if I see a
7.
pattern, yeah, I think if I no, I don't think I've ever experience a full stop like that, something being really
Okay.
difficult.
Well,
I think
awesome.
if I see something and it looks challenging, I will try it. I'll get some scrap fabrics together, and I may not have the pattern, and most of the times I don't, but I will stare and stare and stare at that block until my brain can think, well, okay, right, let me try this and try that. But I've never had something that beat me, not yet. Not yet. I haven't
Awesome.
experienced it yet. Yeah.
So is there anyone in your family besides yourself that makes quilts?
Nope.
No one? Your
No
kids
one.
hasn't shown any interest at all?
I asked my daughter, I said, would you like me to teach you to quilt? She said, when I get to your age.
It's that, there's that mindset about it's only for old people. Right.
Exactly. I said, what do you mean? How old do you think your mother is?
What's that supposed to mean, you know? But
Exactly.
you
I
know
said,
what?
I
I don't
couldn't
know.
understand. I couldn't
I
understand her answer. I was like, what do you mean? When you get to my age? So how old do you
any of
think
them
I
have
am?
grand? I mean, do any of your kids have kids?
Yes, my eldest son has a daughter, and I've made several quilts for her. But yeah, and I've given away quilts to the children, and I think they use it. I know they've sent me pictures of them using it and stuff like that. So yeah, but in terms of interest, my
No.
son, though, my middle son, has said to me, "Mom, I want you to teach me to sew."
That's a good
That's where it
idea.
started.
He
Yeah,
just thought I was
so
just
that's where
teaching
it
him
started.
how to make a pair of shorts. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But quilting, no. My
Oh,
daughter said, I don't have the patience for that, Mom.
yep. What is your go-to sewing machine?
I like my brother's sewing machine. I bought it when I was in England, my brother Innovis, and it took me ages to decide on this sewing machine because I wanted a sewing machine that could also do quilting. And so I did so many research, and I still have it to this day. It's my baby. I call it my baby. But I don't use it for quilting though. I use my other Quilter's Choice for quilting, and I actually bought that one here in Australia.
So you
So
have
I
a
I, I
long.
do like keeping it. Yeah, it's a Quilter's Choice long arm. It's not a. It's called a long arm, but it's a sewing machine that's a really big, but it's
Okay.
mainly for quilting. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't necessarily use my brother for quilting, not anymore anyway, because I don't want to tire it out.
Okay. Can you show us your other quilt that you wanted to share in our
Yeah, I'll show you this
and then
one.
tell us about it and
Yep,
you know.
this one I made for my husband. This was, I think the fourth or third quilt I made.
Oh, look at that. Look at all that open space.
I
Wow.
know, I know.
And you like big blocks. You weren't kidding. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That is
Yeah, so
gorgeous.
thank you. I made this for him. It's a big quilt as well, proper big bed quilt. Because he said to me, we were in England at the time, and he said to me, do we need another quilt on the bed or, under the blanket? I was like, no, I don't think so. He said, well, I am cold at night. And he was being sarcastic, and he said, do you know anybody that does quilting? I was like, what? I was like, oh, you're implying
You
that
one.
yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm going to shut you up. So I made this quilt for him. It took me about a week and a half. And I was like, so what are your favorite colors again? Are you sure you like blue? And he's like, what shade of blue? And questions. And he didn't think about it at all. And then when I was finally done, there's a video of it as well on YouTube. I called him in and I told him on the camera, this is your quilt. He's like, you're lying. You made it for me? I was like, he was
Wow.
so pleased, and he always uses it. Every time I see him, he has his quilt around him. So yeah. So this is one of my beautiful favorite quilts that I've made for my
That's
husband.
really cool. That's so cool. Okay, so now my next question has to do with your channel. When did you
Mhm.
start your YouTube channel and what were your goals at the beginning and how has that evolved over time?
Um, how would I started I can't remember the year. Okay, and you know what? My channel has been going for, I think, 4 years, 3 years, probably 4 years now. And initially, when I started the channel, I was like, it was really to prove to myself that I can quilt.
Yeah.
I like a challenge. I like to prove to myself that I can do something.
Mhm.
So I thought if I can train myself to do it, I can teach other people because I'm a teacher already. So it was like I'm going to challenge myself to do this. And I did. The very first video was very scary. I'll tell you that right now. It was very
It's
scary,
always
you know.
scary.
Yeah. I kept making so much mistakes and champion to my husband. He was always so supportive. I'll never forget on a Sunday when I finished the quilt, he was like, okay, do you want me to record you? And he will be there. He will edit the videos. He
Oh,
will
lucky
record the
you.
yeah, he would record the stand there. I record the opening and the ending and the showing of the quilt, and it will take him all day on a Sunday to edit it and do it for me. And he was so supportive, and because of him, I think I kept going
Yep.
because at the time I was just more flustered with making the quilt. I didn't even think about the editing the video. And he was like, I'll do it for you. And that was literally it. So from his support, it just kind of championed me to, right, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And it has grown. At one time, it kind of slowed down because I think with YouTube, you have to kind of find your feet and
Hmm.
find yourself in your
Yep.
channel because so much of it at the beginning is like
It's like this big scribble of let's hurry up and
yeah,
make sure that it's good and make sure you smell and make sure this is right. Make sure that
exactly.
you forget all about why
Exactly.
you were doing it to begin with.
Exactly. And then the camera comes like, hi, my name is Karen. And you start stuttering. But it after a while
Hate
when
when
you
I
learn
stutter, man.
when you learn to relax and just like ignore the camera and just be yourself. And I think for me, I have found that now, definitely.
And
So I'm more able to relax.
I don't think I took a public speaking in college because it was a required course, and
Mhm.
it's different when you're standing up there in front of a crowd or a classroom full of students or whatever, because you're seeing their faces.
Absolutely.
So it's
Yeah.
easy,
Yeah.
even though you feel like, oh my God, I want to crawl into a crack and hide. But once you get started and you're watching what they're doing while you're talking to them, it gets
Hmm.
easier. But when YouTube,
Yeah.
you're not looking at anyone but yourself, and it's weird.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is very weird. But I think what also controlled that, I had to keep telling myself, Karen, if you make a mistake, just do it again.
Yep,
That video hasn't gone to them as yet. And
yep.
so that sort of calmed me down because I was like, you're just talking to the camera right now. You can erase it and do it again until you feel comfortable. So once that clicked in my brain, I was like, game's over.
Well, I think it's wonderful that you're a teacher to begin with and being able to teach something like this. We need more teachers who can teach people how to do things, even if it's a simple way or a harder way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot of comments about that because a lot of people, a lot of my subscribers, even new subscribers will say to me, you have explained that so well. And that's because of my teaching. I can break it down and simplify it, so that a beginner or even somebody who's looking at the pattern for the first time can be like, oh, that's very simple. I didn't thought about doing it that way. And so for my style of delivery is about relaxing, don't worry about it. If the end result is not what you want, at least you have learned to do
Yep.
it differently,
You've learned the
you know?
mechanics of it. I feel like
Absolutely.
I think that a lot of us, I'm a visual learner, more
Mm-hmm.
visual, and then there's the hands-on part of it. So I tend to learn better by doing both at the same time. Reading
Mm-hmm.
is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have good reading skills. I have exceptional reading skills. But if it's boring, you can forget it.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
going to happen. I'm not going to sit and read it
Yeah.
because my
Yeah.
eyes
Yeah.
wander all over the dang page. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think that teaching is a generic one size fits all kind of thing, you know, and
No,
we
absolutely
have
not.
different, and when you have people who are teaching it different with their style, all of us finds that one teacher that, oh, this works for me. I get this, you
Mhm,
know,
mhm,
because a
mhm,
lot of times
mhm.
I need to see
Absolutely. Yeah,
something, and
yeah.
I'm also angle challenged, so it's super easy for
Mhm.
me to turn a triangle the wrong way, and then
Round, exactly.
way
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah, yeah, because I get comments from people saying, "Oh, you're taking too long to explain and get to the
Oh,
point." Well, some people need that detailed explanation and some don't. And that's why we all learn different. And I always make sure and say that we all learn differently. So
yep,
if you use this, if you know this part, just skip me by.
scroll on by.
Yeah, don't send me a message telling me, oh, you're taking too long. Just move the video along.
Yeah, because
But
we
for
all have
those
a
who
little
want
mouse
me
and a little click, 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 you know.
to, exactly.
Oh, yeah, I get that. Okay, now I'm going to ask you an off the wall question. What
Okay.
is your guilty pleasure?
In quilting or just
Just in general, it can be quilting, it can be whatever. What is your guilty pleasure? What one thing that you know?
okay, my guilty, if it had to be quilting, is kind of buying fabrics without my husband knowing, to be honest, a bit
Ah,
secret. So I'll order them online, and then they will come to the house and he doesn't know anything. and then that's the thing. We will go into the store and I'm acting as though I'm buying new fabrics since I haven't bought in a long time.
our husbands are not dumb.
I know they're not. Definitely not. Literally yesterday, I'm looking at my phone and saying, you know what? I've been seeing those for a long time. I think I need more. And my
Yeah,
inner voice said, Karen, you don't need any more. You haven't even used those ones as yet. But
yeah,
I
but if
just want to
you're
see
like me, you
more.
see a boutique, that's the end. You know, let's go.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, one of my favorite sort of snacky things is Ferrero chocolates. I
Ah,
think I bought some the other day, and my husband said, "Can I have one?" And I looked at him and said, "No." He said, "You wouldn't give me one." I said, "No." He said, "I will take one when you go to bed." And I said, "Then we will get a divorce." He went, "You went there? A divorce for a chocolate?" I said, "That's because I want you to understand how important they are to me. Do not touch my Ferrero Rocher chocolate." He was like, "Oh my gosh, are you serious?" I said, "Do I touch your sweets?" Because my husband has a sweet tooth,
yeah,
right? He will eat anything. I said, "You buy them, I don't touch them. Don't touch my chocolates." As
yeah,
simple as that. He was
yeah.
like, "I cannot believe you." He was like,
Kind of like me
"Well,
getting Reese's peanut butter cups and not wanting to share it with anyone, especially because I
exactly.
live
That's
in
my
Greenland.
that's my treat."
Yeah. Oh, that's
So he
too
couldn't
funny.
believe that. He was in total awe. I said, "Even my children know when mommy buys her chocolates, don't touch them
Yeah.
because there will be an uproar in that household." And the
Mhm.
thing is, I take ages to eat it. I probably have like one a week because I
Yeah.
like to chinks it. Yeah, it's my little corner treat. I have my coffee and my chocolate. Don't let me go in the fridge and it's not there. It's gonna be hell breaks loose.
That's too funny. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to some what I call rapid fire. So it means I'm going to ask a question and you have to come up with this many answers for it.
Oh wow! Okay.
But the first question is the first question is just whatever. Okay, it's not you have to give me a bunch of. What do you wish you had invented? Out of all the pieces of equipment and different things that we use, what do you wish you would have been the inventor of?
Oh wow. Whew. Um, I don't know. Probably the rotary cutter.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. It's. I think it's such a useful tool. Definitely. Yeah, but I mean, to me, I prefer the rotary cutter than the scissors. I think it's more accurate. So
Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
it's
The
weird.
amount of money I would have been making on it.
Did you find the transition a little difficult when you first went from using scissors to make you cut fabric to make clothes with scissors, not a rotary cutter. And then you are quilting and you're using a rotary cutter. And I found the transition from scissors to the rotary cutter a little bit challenging to start with.
No, it was easy for me actually. I did the transition was okay. I didn't even think about it. I just felt it was more accurate and quicker. Yeah.
Okay. What was your worst quilt disaster and were you able to solve it?
Yep. One of my first quilt disasters was when I was quilting. I pieced this quilt. It was a Jenny Doan pattern. And I made the piecing and I was quilting. And I'm happily quilting away. Mind you, it wasn't the best quilt, but it was good. It was good enough.
Yeah.
And to my surprise, it felt a bit thick underneath. But I was like, it's fine. I'm going along. So every time I just stopped and looked at the back of it, it was bunched up. It didn't stick down. I didn't pin it properly, right? So I decided, I was like, oh no. And it was loads. I was like, okay, I'm going to unpick it. And because my quilting wasn't very good, the stitches were so tiny.
Oh,
I
no.
sat there and I unpicked it. Yeah, I did. Punishment, but I unpicked it. I still have it to this today, actually. I did unpick most of it, but some of it is still left.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave it. This is going to learn a learned lesson reminder. And I've only probably in the last week or two started using that quilt. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I remember you. You give me hell.
Okay. What would you like to do in the world of quilting that you haven't already done?
I'd like to write a book. I am currently planning on writing a quilting book. And because I do write my own patterns. And so some, I do feel sometimes that I don't work enough on it because sometimes I do feel like the channel progression takes over. But that is my ultimate dream. So I'm hoping by the end of the year, I have written my first quilting book. I would be so proud of myself when I have done that.
Awesome. What an endeavor when you accomplish it.
Yeah,
That is
definitely.
very cool.
Thank you.
Okay, what is your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is turquoise blue. Why? Because I remembered when I was in the Caribbean growing up, I went to a party and I was wearing this blue dress, and my mom made that dress for me. And I remember I didn't know how beautiful I looked, but I remember this girl said to me, she said, "You look so pretty in that color." And she said, and every time for the whole night, she kept saying to me, "I love your dress. The color is so beautiful." And since that day, that color, that turquoise blue, has remained my favorite color. So anything blue is me. I'm down.
Yeah, turquoise goes with so many colors. It's totally amazing.
It does. Yeah.
When I started messing around with batiks, and you see quite a bit of turquoise in batiks on and off.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it's so vibrant, you're like, oh, you just want to just look at it all day long.
Absolutely.
It's so beautiful. And then discover that it goes with all these other colors. And when you make it, when you use it, you're like, wow, that is just so awesome.
Yeah, it's a very vibrant, strong color.
Yeah, it is, definitely. Okay, what 5 skills should a beginner quilter learn about to help them become a good quilt maker as they learn?
Okay, 5 skills. I would definitely say I would probably say piecing. Take your time, definitely. It is not a rush. Don't rush the process. So, get your 1/4 inch seam accurate. And I think that will save you a lot of stress in the end. And so right off to the end using that 1/4 inch seam. Don't let it sway off. The next one is to learn where your selvage is, definitely. A lot of people still don't know where that is, and they wonder why their blocks are so stretchy. buy yourself a basic pack of quilting tools. So basic rotary, a basic ruler, even get a normal tape measurement, and some marking tool. And I think that's really all you need. So that's number 3. Number 4, you don't need to have the best sewing machine. As long as you can piece on that sewing machine, you're fine. Definitely. I would say, I think some people think that they have to have the best sewing machine or the most expensive. Any basic sewing machine will do. And number 5, the last one, I would probably say, get the threads that you like. Find out the nice thread that you like. It doesn't have to be the most expensive quilting threads. And again, this is why I always take myself back to the original days. There weren't all these quilting threads around, 30, 40 weight. There wasn't anything like that. It was just threads and it worked. So don't let the whole experience of buying the most expensive thing confuse you, because I think there's a lot of that out there to confuse you as a new quilter. Just get the basics, grow from there.
Okay, and you answered my next question, which was to suggest 5 tools that every beginner quilter should have when they start out. You want to talk about a little bit about what your thoughts are relating to getting a ruler for a newbie?
Say that again, I didn't hear that one.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what type of ruler a newbie should get?
Ruler.
Yeah, I think a big long ruler is good enough for anybody that's starting out, but I didn't know what your take was on that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the long quilting ruler, I think they're 23, 24 inches long. I think that is all you need as a beginner, because it has all the 30, 40, 60 degree lines in it. You just got to find out how to use it. I have actually done something like that on my channel. I think I did a video saying, why are quilting tools so expensive? Why? It doesn't need to be, and I think people bombard new quilters with the fact that you have to have all these expensive gadgets. In the reality, you just read a rotary cutter and this long ruler. That's it. That's all you need. And I think even at the beginner, all you really need to do is straight line cuts at the moment to get comfortable, use the confidence in actually making your quilts. Definitely.
Yep. I agree with that. Okay, what advice could you give concerning how to take care of quilts to make them last a long time?
For me, what I personally do, because I have quite a lot of quilts, God knows I have too many quilts. And I would say the best way to take care of them is to hang them. I like to hang my quilts around the house. And I remember someone saying to me, why? Well, because I can.
That's right. My house.
Well, it's my house, and I think open them up, allowing them to just fall flat, let the creases, let the fabrics relax, let them breathe. I think that makes them last a lot more longer. And for me, when I wash my quilts for the first time, I wash them in cold water, because I don't want them to be shocked by really hot water. Just, let the fibers get used to it, and just hang them, look after them, and keep them in a very aerated room. Don't have them in. I don't like my quilts in bags. I just have them folded on the shelf so I can see them and admire them. So as long as the room is aerated and there's nothing to cause them to get moldy or stuffy or smell, because they are fabrics and they will absorb what's in the air, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's how I look after mine.
Well, that is great advice. What advice would you give to a beginner quilter?
Enjoy the process. It's not a speed. Be kind to yourself. Don't look at the quilt. And that's one of the things I used to do when I first started. I would never look at the quilt when I was piecing it. So as the piecing grew and the quilt top was made, I didn't look at it. Yes, I knew it was there, but I didn't open it up and examine it and look for faults. Because when it's that close to your face, you're going to put the stress on yourself. So I would only look at the finished product. And then I'm like, wow, it's really beautiful. So my advice is take your time, be kind to yourself.
Okay. Do you have any, now this is for any quilter. this question. Do you have any other advice that you would like to share with quilters? That means any level of quilting.
I think for me, what first jumped into my mind, I do find that sometimes more experienced quilters can be a little bit tougher when they are looking at somebody else's quilt. I think sometimes they forget the steps that the other person or they have went through as a newbie, and I do feel sometimes they can come across a little bit more, I don't want to say mean, because mean is not the word, a bit more judgmental.
Yeah,
You should
that's
have done
what I
this, you
was
should have
thinking
done
of.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have done it this way, you should have done it that way. No, that's that person's way. So I think as quilters, we should not be too quick to pass it. It doesn't really matter how the quilt was compiled. The
Yeah.
important thing to me is that it's done.
Yep.
Just say, well done, it's beautiful, and leave it at that. Don't say you could have done it this way and you could have. No, it doesn't really matter, you know. And I think some experienced quilters, they are setting their rules.
Yeah.
You know, they are setting their own way of doing stuff. Well, for younger people, they're not like that. And I think the generation has moved on. They like to try new things and see what the result is going to be. So I would say definitely for experienced quilters, just congratulate and say, well done. You know, you've taught me something. I always say that to people, you know what? You've just taught me something differently
Yep.
there.
I
Leave
know
it at
I've
that.
learned a
Yeah.
lot, and I've also learned that it doesn't have to be perfect either. And
Absolutely.
that's one of the biggest things that all newbies need to hear is you don't have to make it perfect.
No.
What you need to remember is to just enjoy the process of the whole thing, because it's a process, and
It
this
is a process.
takes you somewhere, and that's the part you need to enjoy. And don't worry about whether, you know, it's not perfect like so and so's quilt, you know. And the other
Yeah,
thing I've learned is don't compare myself to other people's, or don't compare my
absolutely.
quilts to other people's quilts, because that just breeds bad feelings.
And not only that, we all are creative individually.
Yeah.
Your creativity is different to mine's, you know. So I think just saying, you know what, and I think if somebody wants to get to another stage, simply say, you know, how can I learn your style? Share with
Mm-hmm.
me what you did. You know, I always say to my subscribers, don't gatekeep. If you've got an idea of something, just share it with the others. You know, that's how we learn and grow.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that was all of my questions.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to share anything else with us that you hadn't, that you would like to share that we haven't mentioned?
What else can I think for me, one of the things I love about doing my YouTube channel is getting to meet all the other quilters. I am really excited when I go on that camera and I am talking. It to me is like talking to my friends,
Yeah.
you know, and many of them I have never seen.
Yeah.
But, you know, each week they check in, they're there, they're answering questions, we're talking to each other. And to me, that's one of the most profound things. I look as this YouTube quilting channel as my pen pals. You know, in the old days, pen pals used to write
Yeah.
letters and send it off to each other, and you know, you had pictures back. Well, YouTube is a modern day of that,
Yeah.
you know, whereby you know we can see each other whether by instant pictures or on live or whatever it is, and it's just so amazing. So for me, for that, absolute takeaway when you know meeting new quilters like that online and the excitement about it.
Okay, so before we end the pre-record, please restate the name of your channel and your name so that when they finish watching, they'll know where to go look for you at.
All right, so if you want to check out my channel, it is called Crafty Quilting Designs, and my name is Karen. And there's also my website link where you can get free patterns, and also my Etsy link where you can get patterns also and see all the wonderful things I do, and lots of playlists for all the quilt alongs that we've done in the past and for what we're doing now. And yeah, I'm sure you're going to enjoy my vibrant, lively self when you come and check me out.
That's outstanding. So thank you for
Thank
coming,
you.
and we will see, both of us will see all of y'all on the next video. Bye.